From the 915 to H-Town, from the Panhandle Plains to the Valley, and everywhere in between, this is the 50/50 Podcast, powered by the 50/50 Podcast Network. Join me, Hector Cano, as we cover the Texas high school club and college soccer landscape, along with an inside look at the college soccer recruiting scene. The 50/50 Podcast is a platform about the people and for the people who are dedicated to the beautiful game. Here we go. It's another edition of Inside Texas High School Soccer. It is episode 8 of season 6. Thank you for joining us tonight. We are coming to you live from the great state of Texas as I am your host, Coach Hector Cano, and I am joined by my lovely co-host, my Vanna White, as I like to call him, Coach Rafa Casorena. Coach, how are you, buddy?
Pretty good. How are you?
Hey, man. I'm great.
Spring
I'm
break.
surviving. Yeah, you're showing off the jersey there. I see you. Nice, beautiful jersey.
For Harry.
Yeah.
Harry and AJ.
Yeah, good old our friend Harry Austin. He'll appreciate that one. So no spoiler alerts, hopefully, but hopefully everybody saw the scores from today's Champions League results. But before we get going on anything, just want to share we are proud to be brought to you by this episode and every episode by our title sponsors. Brought to you by our proud partner and title sponsor, Jeanette Spain at TexasVeteranRealtor.com, the go-to realtor for military and veteran families in Central Texas. With her cover and move, I got your 6 approach. You focus on the move while she handles the contracts, deadlines, and all the details. And when we talk about details, we mean details, attention to detail. That's what separates her. That's what makes her special. That's what makes her great. Being a retired military veteran, her focus, her attention to detail on her customers, second to none. That's the great separator. So if you want a realtor that works like you and fights for you, you need to visit TexasVeteranRealtor.com for your free no-pressure strategy session. Again, that's Jeanette Spain at TexasVeteranRealtor.com. All right, brother. So what's new? What's going on?
Just still working. I was at Comfort High School today. Went to visit some students, and yesterday I was at Grey Hearts again, and then Monday I was at Blanco. So I got to visit them. So it's a busy week, and then I'm heading off to Laredo on Sunday. So I'll be there till Friday, like early Friday. So busy times trying to get these kids to get things done.
Right. Tell me. Yeah, you're entering your playoff season, right? When it comes to work, right? So critical time. So in case you're wondering, Rafa is the most interesting man in the world, most interesting man alive. He's never home. So for the 4th consecutive year, it's going to be looking like Bracketology on the road, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So looking forward to the quinceañera backdrop once again. So excited for that. What else is new? What's the latest? Did you have a chance to cover any games this week at all?
I didn't get to do because Friday I was in Seguin, so I didn't really get a chance. Like I kind of came late, but I kind of followed some of what Harry and Steve was, some of their coverage, and a couple other people that would kind of know us and stuff. Just for as far as updates. I know there's some games that played over this last couple of days. I know there's still some games tomorrow. There's one big game tomorrow too. Some could maybe be an implicator of what who gets what seeding, and because like we still have some games on Tuesday too. I don't know who had the smarter idea to keep them playing before the recertification. So I wish you all would tell them, hey, we're gonna finish right here before 3 days before that, but I guess you have to have some wiggle room for if some teams are tied. I read something that there was one school that won, so there might be a 3-way tie for first place for a district. So we'll see what happens there. So
right. So I do apologize. It does appear that we are having some technical difficulties in terms of going live on Twitter X, Twix as we call it. We are live on YouTube. If you're watching this, you're watching this via YouTube. So we're efforting issues that we're having there. No idea why it didn't connect, but definitely working on that here. So, and speak of the devil, here he is, Mr. Harry Austin himself. AJ is sad after the whipping that Real Madrid gave to City. So, hey, nothing wrong with being sad every now and then. So, AJ had such great potential. I thought he was going to be a great Real fan, but I guess not. So we are working on that. Again, we are coming to you live via YouTube, working on Twitter as well. So not quite sure why we haven't connected there. But Rafa, in the meantime, so tell us, we always cover what you're watching, what you're reading, what's the latest you've been able to watch or cover or read. There anything new?
lately I've been watching a lot of, especially a lot of YouTube documentaries. That's the thing. I watch a lot of history stuff since that was a subject I used to teach. I've been watching a lot of like ancient antiquity stuff, and it kind of coincides with one of my shows that I watch every Tuesday on History Channel and so forth. So that's been trying to kind of piece it together with all of those things, and then hopefully I can get back at it. Some books I've been kind of scoping around to see what. Usually I read autobiographies. I got quite a few of them, so it's like I'm trying to see what catches my eye, so I can kind of refresh the brain and stuff. Just to read some like story backstories about.
Right, right. Gotcha. Good deal. Good deal. So me, watched. What have I watched? I don't think I watched anything really significantly new. I don't think anything. My read though, I am reading. So still reading the book that my daughter's got me reading, but rereading. So I don't this one here. So 59 lessons. So uh, talking about leadership, right? With Fergus Connolly. Nice little plug there. If you're familiar with this book or you've heard about it, it is a great read. So I'm going through it, rereading that one as well. So excited to be reading that as well. And here we go. That I was talking about your your choice of viewing, right? So awesome. So hey, excited about today's show, right? So we got a loaded show. We got two great guests. Coach Phil Duhan joining us from Rockwall Heath, the head men's soccer coach there of the district champion. All right, Heath Hawks, as well as so it is. I guess it's an episode of Champions, right? Then we got Coach Matt Dickinson joining us later, the head women's soccer coach of the the district champion Prosper Eagles as well. Excited to get their insight. Going to talk about playoffs, their teams. Give us a little bit of insight there. Then we've got a ton to cover. We got RPIs we got to cover. We're finally getting to our dark horse list late in the regular season, and then we're going to also go over our by district spotlight, some fire matchups that we have that we're looking forward to that are either confirmed or maybe they're not officially confirmed or we don't know where they're going to be played yet. So stay tuned for that as well. But Rafa, before we bring in our first guest, got to fire up it's been a minute since I've done this, the old energy drink, right? The old C4. But let's go ahead. We are going to bring in our first guest of the day, of the evening, I should say, Coach Duhan. Coach, how are you? Oh, Coach,
You good?
you got me? Can you hear me?
No, can you hear me?
There you
What
go.
do I
There
need
you go.
to do?
Yeah, we got
Okay,
you.
we're good now. All right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So how you doing?
I'm doing great. Doing
Yeah.
great. We wrapped up we wrapped up our district season last night, and it was another one. It was every time us and Rockwall play, it is a battle to the teeth. They're a good program. We think we're a good program. These kids grow up with each other. They know each other. They're friends and they're enemies. And it was knockdown, drag out. Two boxers going at it. And unfortunately, we gave up a penalty kick with 8 minutes left. They converted, and they won it 1-0. But we still got the trophy.
There you go. There you go.
Yep.
Awesome. So your first district title in 6A since making the jump to
Yep.
6A. So
Yeah.
how does that feel? What's the thoughts? What's the vibe? The players, the community? I mean, or is it just kind of like, hey, we expected to be here and we got bigger plans? Where are you guys at with all that?
Well, I think the support from the community and the school has been terrific. I mean, there's so many people, students, teachers, that when they see me, they say, "Hey, congrats on the district championship," and it's just it's really nice to hear that. I don't think that we're competitive in just about every sport, but we don't win every district championship. So I mean, when we do, except baseball wins it every year. When we do it, I think it's special for us, and it's kind of weird we we won the district on Thursday night last week, and we didn't play. So we were all sitting at home, and there was another game happening in the district that if a certain result went our way, then we would be district champs. And that result went our way. So literally, I was having a chat with my wife in the bedroom about her job, and I found out, oh, guess what? We're district champs. So that was the moment that we won. It wasn't even on
So
the field. Yeah.
there's a little bit of
So
a Leicester City feel to it, right? Going
exactly.
back and
Oh,
you're
yay.
playing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
now who do I celebrate with? Um, but I think our team is focused on bigger goals, though. we always list out our goals. It's qualify for the playoffs, it's win the district championship, and then it's win the region and win the state. So we think we have a good competitive team, and we're looking forward to the battles that we have in the playoffs. And I think we'll be really disappointed if we lose early.
Gotcha. So thoughts on, so you share with us going into this season, right?
Yep.
Has it played out? How much of it has played out like you had thought or had hoped for, versus kind of maybe over exceeding or surprising even maybe the quiet expectations that you had as a coach? I know it's kind of a little bit of a loaded question there, but
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
assess going into where versus how things have played out. How different or how similar have they been?
Well, I mean, that is a loaded question, and to answer it, I'm going to go back to April and May of last year. We had a really good team last year, and we had three of our four defenders coming back, and the one guy that we had in mind for the fourth spot was like a shoe in. We had our goalkeeper coming back, so we felt like we were really solid in the back line. Well, over the summer, my center back, who was a returning junior, told me that he had signed to play for a German youth team that's in the Bundesliga now, and he's killing it there. He's playing German soccer. But this is a fantastic high school center back that's gone. And then a couple of weeks later, I found out that my returning senior left back is doing the same thing, and he's playing in Slovakia now. So both of these guys that I was counting on to be big contributors in the back, only needed one defender. Well, guess what? Now we need two that for sure, and that other one that's coming up.
Right.
So the funny thing as a coach, you look at your personnel and you say, all right, I don't know that we have four defenders that we can count on. I don't know that we can do it this year. I think we're going to have to play a three back. So we worked all fall on the three back system, on what does it mean to play in three back defensively. And I'm a very defensive minded coach, so everything is focused on, all right, we're starting in this three back, but how do we mark when they have two forwards? How do we mark when there's three forwards? How do we mark when the midfield is this shape or that shape? And we went through all of that stuff, played all of our scrimmages like that. And then we step on the field and we lost our first four games. And they weren't close. And the funny thing is, the fourth game was against the two forward system, and I was like, well, this should be perfect. We should handle these guys. Nope, we did not handle them at all. So after that, we switched to a 4-3-3, and I basically I told one of our kids, I was like, all right, Diego, you've never played left back, but you're going to be my new left back. How do you feel about that? And he's like, okay, coach, let's give it a try. And we came out and we had a fantastic effort in that first game. And we tied Lake Travis, and then so we lost our first four games, and then I think we won. We lost one game out of the next 15, and that got us to the district championship. But it, again, you go back to as a coach, is it where they start or is it how they play? And I feel like we had a good, honest meeting after that fourth shellacking, and where I told them, I said, guys, it doesn't matter where you start, it doesn't matter what numbers we call it. If you don't fight for 50-50s, if you don't do the right things, if you don't move well, if you don't pass well, if you don't take the chances, if you don't get forward and play to our strengths, then it doesn't matter what you call it. If you let guys run through the defense, it doesn't matter what you call it, where you start. And so I think we took that to heart and started playing really well. And my goodness, I think I said we allowed 19 goals in those first 4 or 5 games, and then we've allowed 15 goals since then. So. It's been a big turnaround, and it was, it's a silly job that we pin our happiness on the moods of 14 to 18-year-old boys. And, so, 4 games in, you're thinking, oh man, what is this season going to have for me? And then we turn it around, and it's been, these guys, when they hit the field, there's no question that they are going to give their all, and they want to win and compete every night. So it's been does that answer your question? That was a lot of words.
No, it was great. It was great insight. Love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, hey, speaking of fighting for 50-50 balls, your cats or dogs you got back there in the background, I hope they're okay.
Oh
Man. They
no.
look like
Yeah, no, they're having a great old time, man. It's really hard to find a quiet spot in this house. We got
Yeah. Oh,
we
no,
got
no, no,
four
no.
we have 4 dogs and a cat, and there's 4 kids living here, and my wife, and you guys are talking about what are you reading and what are you watching. Man, I'm just trying to have enough time to be a coach and a dad and a teacher all at the same time. What are you
Yeah,
watching,
no.
Coach Duhan? Yeah, I'm watching film. Yeah, that's what I'm
Okay.
watching.
Yeah, that's what I've been saying for the last several episodes. That's what I found. It's like good old huddle.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
just let the record show that no cats were harmed during this episode of Inside
Yeah.
Texas High School Soccer. Right? No, just kidding. All kidding aside, Coach. Now, would you say that Lake Travis? Because you dropped a lot of great info there, but would you say maybe that Lake Travis match was that kind of the key turning point where things finally clicked? Was that it?
Oh, yeah, I would say so. Yeah, I mean that was the beginning of the process, and we just, it's we just came out with a renewed dedication and a renewed attitude and stepped up our effort largely in that game. And we got 2 goals early against them. We were up 2-0. And they're a good team and they fought back and they made it 2-2 in the second half. But it was a competitive match throughout. And it was you watch that and you're going, okay, this is a good draw. Even though we were up and then conceded 2, it was a good draw because, the guys began to understand the type of effort and the type of battle that's required to compete in 6A Texas soccer. I mean, you can't. We don't have the multitude of tremendous talent where we can expect to just show up and beat anyone. But we've got some good guys, and if we're ready to compete and get after it, then line us up against anyone. So
Gotcha. Great
no.
stuff. Yeah, I would agree. 6A, I mean, largely, unless you're a once in a generation type team, I just don't think you can do that, right? Especially at the 6A
No.
level,
Yeah,
right? And then
it's
especially, and then we talk about on the boy side the amount of parity that there is, right? It's
yeah.
just if you don't show up that night, if you have a bad night, it's going to be a long night, as we say.
I
But
mean, yeah, and just
yeah,
look at who's winning state championships and who's representing, who's playing for state championships. It's not the same teams. Seven Lakes got there twice, but I mean, and in the last 10 or 15 years, San Antonio Lee got there twice. I mean, other than that, I mean, Allen got to state a couple of times, but other than, there's not. It's not like you see in football where it's always North Shore and Duncanville. There's a lot of parity and there's a lot of cyclical stuff. You've got teams that make the state final, win the state championship, and then the next year they don't even make playoffs.
right, right.
It happens all the time.
Yeah, yeah, true.
You know?
Rafa, you got anything for Coach?
Coach, how do you feel about your district? How they prepare you guys going into the second season next week?
I think that our district throughout the years has been is always a very tough deal. We do have one team in our district that is overmatched, but the other 6, it is a battle every time you step on the field. There are no easy games. So the fact that we are competing against these guys that prepares us to go out. There's no there's I hate to say it, but there's one team that's winless. So that game you do get to get a few more players in, but the rest of the teams, man, you're thinking, how am I going to beat these guys? What am I going to do? What's this guy going to come up with? Because all the coaches in our district are sharp, and it's a battle every night. So I've said this, throughout the years. I said it in our 21 run that competing in this district is always what prepares us and what prepares our district mates to compete well in the postseason.
Well said, Coach. So
Thank
we
you.
start to transition here. So I know we don't want to keep you too long, right? You got a lot of stuff to get to. Um, Now the playoffs, right? How do you handle it?
Yes.
So tell us about. Do you have your match, your by district round match
Yes.
locked in, ready to go? Your opponent, where are you at with that? And then,
Yeah. So
take us
we
through take
had
us through the thoughts on how you prepare for that.
Yeah, so we clinched last week, and our opponent is going to be Wiley High School, and it would have taken a miracle at the end of last week for them to get above Saxe in the D1 standings. I mean it's a lot more cut and dry these years now with D1 and D2. Rockwall last night, they rose from third to second in the standings, but it didn't matter. They were going to be second seed no matter what. So we worked out with Wiley after Friday night's game. I called him on the phone and said, "Hey, what do you want to do?" And his girls had already scheduled their match on Friday at their place, and he had his players had hosted the last couple of years and lost. So they said, "Hey, we want to do something else." I was like, "Well, why don't you come to our stadium?" So we've got that game set for next Friday at 7 at Wilkerson Sanders, which is our district stadium. Not our we play our home games at Heath High School,
Right.
but that's the district stadium. So we're looking forward to hosting, and we hope that we get some good support. So we will, as of last year, the routine changed also for us because that's our spring break. So next week we have spring break, and we have to play a playoff game during spring break. So we will take Monday and Tuesday off next week, and then we'll train Wednesday and Thursday leading up to the game. And we had, before last year, it had always been a case where it was impossible to get kids around on spring break. Yeah, but I began to tell them, at the beginning of the year, I said, listen, here's the deal. We're gonna have a playoff game on Friday at spring break. If you're not here for training Wednesday and Thursday, then you're done for the playoffs. You're not a part of our team until next year again. And the players have all bought in, and they agree that that's the way it should be, and they'll show up and train, and we will do our best to prepare. Um, but yeah.
Awesome. Great set. Great stuff. I would say so, and that was going to be part of my question, right? Have you been here in this situation before, particularly on a spring break week with
Yep.
playoffs, and how have you adjusted that over the years? But it sounds like
Yeah.
that's exactly what you've done, right?
It's exactly what we did last year. Yeah, we had Garland in the first round last year, and it's the same thing we had done. Yeah, we'll have a non-district friendly on Friday against West Mesquite, which is handy because I've got my captain and best player picked up his fifth yellow card against Rockwall, so he needs to sit a game before the playoffs begin. So we've got that game. We had that game scheduled a long time ago, and so we're going to play that one and have him serve a suspension. But if we didn't have that game for the last district game, he wouldn't have played, obviously, because it
Hmm.
didn't matter for us as far as
Right.
seeding goes. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
Little strategy there. Little strategy.
yeah,
I see you. He
there's
is
layers and
Coach
layers.
Coach Phil Duhan, the head men's soccer coach of
Yeah.
the of the 10-6A district champions, the Heath Hawks.
Thank you.
Coach, I want to give you a little shout out there.
All right.
So, Coach, final thoughts here, stoppage time for you. So, any, uh, anything that's on your mind as it relates to the game, shout outs, thank yous, anything, your community, your players, whatever, what have you, your family, what have you. The floor is yours.
Oh wow! I mean, family is a huge thing for us. I mean, I couldn't do the job that I do and to the quality that I do without the support of my wife and my kids. And it's you get into the middle of soccer season and it takes a lot of time, and you're gone all together 2 nights a week, and then she'll tell you that my mind is gone a lot of times otherwise. So the fact that she supports me through that, shows up to the games, and our little third grader gets to run out on the field after the game sometime and give me a high five and a hug, just means the world to me. But we're in a great place in Heath, Texas. We love our community. They are super supportive. We have got fantastic parents. It is a special gem of a job for me, and I can't imagine coaching anywhere else.
Well said.
All right.
Awesome. Love it. Coach Rafa, any last thoughts, anything else for Coach before we let him go?
Uh, just want to wish Coach good luck.
Thank you.
I know Region Two is a really brutal district because you have your Dallas area and
Yeah,
Houston area.
boy, that
So
makes it so tough because we know all the stuff that's going on with the Dallas coaches and the Dallas teams, and we all talk and stuff. But half of our region is Houston, and we never see those teams, and and then when it comes for that, we'll play 2 rounds here locally, and then the third round will be against the Houston team. Well, heck, man, who am I going to play, and how am I going to get film on these guys, and how am I going to do I send someone down to scout? Do I know someone in Houston that I trust and will go watch the game for me? Yeah, it's a tough puzzle that we are blessed to get to solve.
Well said. Awesome.
Yep.
He is Coach Phil Duhan, the head men's soccer coach of the Heath Hawks. Coach,
All right.
really appreciate you. Thank you so much
You
for
bet.
everything. Wish you and your squad the absolute best in the playoffs this
All right.
or this
Thank you,
I should say
sir.
this
Thanks for
spring.
having me
Sorry.
on.
All right.
Yeah.
Take care.
thank
Have a good
Go
one. Bye bye.
Hawks.
All right, Coach Duhan. Glad to finally get him on. I know we've had a chance to speak over the last couple of times out at the convention out in Galveston, and glad to finally get him on. And Coach Duhan, don't let Coach Heyman hate on you whatsoever. All right, I much prefer to see red than blue in that blue blazer of his, right? That I give him grief about, but yeah. Really appreciate having him on. Thoughts on what he had to? He shared a lot of good insight in there.
Mhm. Yeah, when you lose two key players, especially with them playing in Europe, especially on the in the back end, it's tough. And then something you try to work on, especially tactic wise, the three back didn't work, so they went back to maybe something that were maybe the players might have been comfortable. And I've done that in the fly before too, especially at one showcase I was at a three back and then I switched to a four back, and it just changed things. So sometimes you do have. I think that's the beauty about having non-district games is you can still make adjustments prior to your district play, because that's where it counts. And it paid off. So, and they're going to be a team to keep an eye on this year.
Yeah.
I know Region Two is tough. You guess he mentioned about the Houston area teams, but I said there are always some great matchups in Region Two for 6A.
Mhm. Yeah. Again, we are live. If you are listening to us, well, if you're only live right now on YouTube, so get on Twitter, get on your social media, and direct people on here, because I know a lot of people like to hop on Twitter and listen to us via there. But if they can't see us, then they can always come here. So the 50_50 podcast, that is our YouTube channel. Go on there, like, rate, subscribe. If you're already a subscriber and you sign up for live notifications, and you would already know this. So yeah, so we are live. Unfortunately, don't know what's going on with Twitter, because nothing has changed in terms of our connections, but for some reason the live feed is not going through tonight. So a little bit of a bummer, but yeah, I agree with you in terms of Coach Duhan and his squad. Just happy. You love to see that. That's their first one, their first district title at the 6A level. You'll never forget that first one. So really happy to see that. Happy for his boys, and it's a great tale in terms of he hit on something, because it's the same thing that I told my girls at Canyon. Right? It's like it's never about it is a marathon. It really is. It sounds like coach speak, but it's so true. Right? Is you got to get them to understand that things don't go your way early. You play tough competition, tough set of squads, and you don't want to be playing your best soccer in the first 3 weeks of January. You want to be playing it right now, right? So some people get it, some people nod their head and say they get it, but never really do. But I think that's what makes us in our profession as coaches, right? Is getting them to see that message, understand that message throughout, and be consistent. That's the hardest thing to do. So. All right. We are going to make way now for our next guest. He's no stranger to the podcast. All right. We've had him on here a time or two, and Coach Matt Dickinson of the Prosper Eagles. Coach, how are you?
Doing good, man. Thanks for having me back on.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Hey, appreciate you. I know you were complaining a little bit that I rough you up a lot, so I'll take it easy. I promise. I promise. I promise. I'm just messing with you, Coach. Really excited to have you on here, Coach. Thank you. And got to start with similar to where we left Coach Duhan. Congratulations, all right, on your 6A district title. All right. How does I know that's just the bare minimum in terms of standards and expectations at Prosper, but nevertheless, how does it feel?
Sure, it beats the alternative for sure. Um, yeah, it's always something that we talk about expectation wise. Things that when you start the beginning of the season and things that as a team you want to achieve, and that's always on the list for us. So it's been good. A little bit strange, at least with this district, to have it kind of sewn up as early as we did. That's a little bit unfamiliar territory, I think, for anybody. But it's been good.
Yeah, and you've really early, right? There was what, 3, 4 matches left in district play when you sealed it up.
Yep, three mathematically. So, which look at the teams in our district. That's pretty uncommon with the talent level you've got.
Right, right. So, right, and I would say it's not a knock on it's not a I guess you could say it's definitely not a knock on you all, right? It just speaks to the volume of just the competition in your district, but so pretty newfound territory for you, right? So how did you handle that when you're like, oh wow, this part is wrapped up in terms of, and then as well as our seed. So how did you talk with your coaching staff? How did you proceed from there? What maybe you didn't make many changes, but how did you handle that just from game to game for the rest of the season?
Yeah, I think that's one thing with the split too that's a little bit different, and that people just kind of had to adjust to, because even before we actually had clinched the district title, we had our playoff seed locked up. So regardless of how the rest of the games went, in terms of playoffs, we knew we were going to be the 1 seed Division II. So that has been an adjustment the last couple of years. I think there's good and bad to it. Being clinched up that early. I think on the one hand, it's like you got to try to keep the kids from taking their foot off the pedal because they, regardless of the score, they know we're already locked everything up and nothing's going to change. I think that's on the bad end, and I think our kids did a good job of not falling into that trap. I think positively for us is we know once we get into playoffs, we're going to play a juggernaut right off the bat. So we don't really have time to let our foot off the gas because we can't afford to just try to flip a switch once we get into playoffs and try to get back going again. You do that, you find yourself
Right.
going home early. So,
Yeah.
I think that's been kind of the balance. I think the positive too for us being in that situation is, you do have the luxury of if you need to get some kids rest here and there, you don't really have to stress that quite as much. You can kind of get a little bit more of a squad rotation and keep everybody, as fresh as you possibly can going into
Hmm.
playoffs. Definitely a benefit that we're definitely not complaining about on that end. If you need to rest somebody, you don't feel like, man, I'm really, you know, in a bind here. So that's probably been the biggest positive, and then just in terms of, like I said, just trying to keep the kids locked in and, like regardless, we're still trying to go undefeated in district. So that's been something we've been trying to attain, so that's another little motivating factor there. We kind of keep us going.
Yeah. How different is this year's squad from your state championship squad a couple of years ago? What's similar? What are the similarities you've seen, and how different are they up to this point?
I mean, there's still a decent amount of players that we have that are from that group. I think this is the first time since I've taken over as head coach that we've actually been majority upperclassmen. And my first year, we had 5 starters in the state final, um, which is unheard of at 6A. It's that's very difficult to do. And then that sophomore class and some freshmen sprinkled in last year. Predominantly what made up the majority of our starting group. So going into this year, this is the first year we ever felt like we're going to have a majority of our group being upperclassmen and having that experience. We've always been blessed to have really talented upperclassmen groups, but in terms of actually dominating the number of players on the field, that's probably the biggest difference between this group and the group we had when we won it is just the having that level of experience across the board for the majority of them, sprinkled in with some underclassmen in there versus, the year we won it, it was kind of the opposite. We had majority underclassmen sprinkled in with some seniors and juniors in there. So um, that's probably the biggest, if you're talking
Yeah.
about comparing or differing between the two.
Right. What has been? Has there been some key moments this year that you saw live happen in front of you where those exact moments of experience really kicked in, where you could clearly identify it and point to it? Have you had those moments this year?
Maybe not quite as clearly as in years past. Like we could really just push on like, hey, this is a moment, like for example, the year that we won it, the year when we played Allen and we're able to come back and win a game where we were down 2 goals, down players, teams started to figure out, hey, when we get our full group back together, we're going to be able to compete with just about anybody. I think that was something easy to touch on that year. This year, times of like playing well, we, our scrimmages, honestly, we played Lovejoy and Wakeland and played really well in those 2 games. So it gave a lot of optimism going into the season before we actually got into games that counted. So those were signs that, like, hey, we can be a really good team. And I think really just getting back into the district swing of things, for us, it's something everybody deals with where you're missing kids or having kids out for whatever reason. We started off pretty slowly. We played Naps right off the bat, and you're always going to play a bunch of, super talented teams from, various parts of the state. But started off kind of slow there, not really playing as well as we wanted to, but also playing some really good competition. And then we went down to Georgetown, which we love doing, but we usually don't have our full group going down there, and we understand that. So really, just for us, it was kind of the tournament season and getting into district was kind of a reset button for us. So, it was kind of like, like they always say, it's a new season. So we kind of just clean slate. Let's jump into it. We got most of our group back now. Let's get going. And, I think, jumping right into it against McKinney Boyd, you don't get to just ease into play. You got to be on your toes, and we went into a battle right away,
Right.
and had to win that game in a shootout. Shootouts can kind of go one way or the other. So I think for us, a little bit of a launching pad to win that kind of emotional game, because we went on from that's the only point we've dropped so far. So from that game, we've won 15 straight. So um, it's that's kind of a launch pad a little bit, that little bit of emotion to jump into district play and get that first win under our belt right away and just kind of get rolling.
Yeah. Yeah, and when you're going to go up against an Elias Ramos squad, they're going to be well coached. So yeah, so that was probably the right type of wake up call that you guys needed. It sounds like, right?
Yeah.
Rafa, you got anything for coach?
Yeah, coach. Like I said, you started kind of slow. How did the girls react to that, from that slow start going and then the tie, but winning the shootout against McKinney Boy? How did the girls feel at that point, and that kind of led to the winning streak you guys currently have?
Yeah, I think they're realistic. They understand what our preseason looks like and what it's about. I think we all kind of had a little bit of a sour taste in our mouth when we came out of Neps with a one win, one tie, and one loss. We felt like we could have performed a little bit better in that game, in that tournament. But coming into district, they kind of knew Boyd was going to be motivated to take it to us the first game, because they were coming off a loss the earlier in the week. So it was, like I said, they were locked in for it. They knew, like, that's always a really tight game, really emotional game between the two of us. And it's always been close every year I've been up here. It's never a game where you're going to feel comfortable. There's always going to be some give and take there. So the girls knew that, and were amped up for it and ready to go first district game. And then from there, it's just let's get rolling. There's always, we always try to find, I tell them all the time, if you got to find fake something to get you motivated, somebody said something, or, like whatever it is, to get you going. If there's not something there to get you a spark, do what you got to do, and I try to throw things in here and there, just as like, hey, let's get them fired up for whatever it is, so you got to push buttons where you need to. Um, but for the most part, they've done a pretty good job. I think the biggest thing for us so far is, like, in district play, is just consistency. The product we put out there on the
Absolutely.
field. I think that's why, if you look at the standings the way they are, I think that's probably the biggest reason, is the product we put out there probably has been the most consistent.
Gotcha. So now you transition, right? The playoffs. Thoughts on that as you prepare there? Tell us your first round matchup. Is it all set, locked in, date, time, location, and thoughts as you prepare for the by district round?
I wish it was set. Not yet. We won't know till Friday. So it'll be either Marcus or Geyer for us. Um, so it all depends on,
What a first round matchup.
a killer game on Friday. Marcus and Coppell play. That's probably one of the best games in the state. Will help determine a district title there. So uh, basically breaks down to, if Marcus wins, we don't play Marcus any other result, and we play Marcus in the first round. So there's a crazy scenario in that district where if Marcus and Coppell tie, there'll be a three-way tie for first place. So we'll be a district champion playing a district champion in the first round. So
Wow.
that's the reality we live in up here. So either way, they're both two really great teams. Tough one right off the bat. So could be we played Marcus obviously the last 2 years in the regional finals. So we'd rather meet them again there than in the first round. But it is what it is. So we're ready for whoever it is. You got to be on your best regard. From that district and ours, if you're not ready to go from the jump, it's going to be tough.
Right, right. So we start to transition here, Coach. We get so we can get you out of here as well. Anything else? I guess in addition to, we give you stoppage time to talk about it, but anything when you talk about, just in terms of the game specifically, things that are going on across the state of Texas, Texas high school soccer coaches, anything. Is there anything, the D1, D2 split continues to be, we're still adjusting to that. Some people want to talk about the mercy rule, but is there anything on your mind, anything you just kind of would like to bring up, share, anything as it relates to our game, our profession as coaches as well, Texas high school soccer coaches, anything out there? I just kind of wanted to give you that opportunity before we transition to stoppage time.
Sure. Maybe it's me being old school. Bring back the regional tournament, state tournament. I love those so much. I love that. Obviously, the extra time off for our kids is great. But in terms of atmosphere, if you're talking, going down to Birkelbach and being down there for a couple of days and seeing all those semifinals and finals and all the drama and stuff that goes with it, I'm a sucker for that. I think that's fun. Obviously for the kids, it's nice to have a couple of days off, but I think at that point, I think adrenaline just kind of gets you through. This is something we've talked about a little bit, offline.
See, I
Just in
think the
general.
regional piece, I think I would like for them to keep the regionals how they are now, but the state semifinal and the final, I think that's what the UIL has to kind of try to figure out a little bit better. I think
Mm,
at a minimum, right, is the state tournament setup. The regionals, I kind of like them the way they kind of are right now. I tell the story all the time about two schools in El Paso, right, that are 6 miles apart that had to drive all the way to Fort Worth to play each other in in a 4A regional final. So I get all that, but yeah, I think I don't know. Figure it out a different way. Can we add a couple of days to the calendar? It's possible, and that's kind of why I ask these type of questions because inevitably our coaches bring up great stuff, and it can't just be a no. We can't, right? If it
mm.
was there before, there's a way that we can do it again. So I agree with you completely, Coach.
Yeah, I think because I've had conversations with some people. I think that's especially when you look at the state tournament. I feel bad for the teams. Not feel bad that they made a state semifinal, but to not get maybe potentially to experience what it's like to be down in Birkelbach for that atmosphere and for everything else. It's like, yeah, you're at a state semifinal, but what if you're having to travel, 150 mile, whatever it is, to get to that neutral site? How are you really going to get a normal state semifinal atmosphere that you might get if you were down in Birkelbach? So for those teams that get down there and I feel for them if they're not getting to get that actual experience of what it's really like to be down there and get that atmosphere and be down playing at the state championship venue. I think they deserve to, if you're getting that far, I think you'd have to deserve an opportunity for sure.
Absolutely. I'm gonna get bombarded here. Gonna let one special guest back in real quick to follow up, piggyback on what you just said there, Coach Dickinson. All right, Coach Duhan, gonna let you in, breaking all the rules here, letting you back in. So I know you wanted to follow up what Coach Dickinson said. Go ahead, Coach.
Terrible, and it's a fantastic idea that they got rid of those because think about it. We play all of February, all of March, without playing a day game ever. And then you're going to force us to play back-to-back games during the day when it's getting hotter and hotter. It's just a recipe for poor soccer. And then the fact that, like you said, those teams from El Paso that are driving to Houston or whatever to play the games. I mean, we had a couple of years ago, Rockwall High School played Wiley High School or Wiley East in a regional final. Those two schools border each other in the Dallas area. They had to drive all the way down to Round Rock to play a game. It's dumb. So the regional tournaments need to go. And I would be fine with bringing back the state tournament, but you got to give players a day off. You can't. I mean, when they played 5A, 6A soccer, the semifinals and the finals in back-to-back days, it's not. It's just not a good idea, man. You got to give those kids a day off. That's
Well,
my
the
opinion.
reality of it is everybody throws everything into the semifinal to make the final,
Yeah.
and then less than not even 24 hours turnaround.
Right. Yeah.
Oftentimes, you end up with some very, very ugly finals.
Yeah.
Let alone
And
let alone the injury potential. Right, that's the other issue.
one more thing. The best, most well attended game that I ever coached in was our state semifinal that we got to play against Allen High School at Mesquite Memorial Stadium. The stands were full, it was loud, it was incredible. And if we'd played that game in Birkelbach, it wouldn't have had the same type of electricity.
Yeah, yeah.
I was I
I'm
was
sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. Coach.
I was gonna ask coaches, what do you think about maybe the playoffs kind of falling the same way like football, playing one playoff game each weekend? How would you feel about that scenario?
I,
We're pretty, I mean, in terms of regional, tournament they used to have, state tournament they used to have, I think at this point kids are pretty accustomed to the Tuesday, Friday setup, Tuesday, whatever it may be. So I think that is not really an issue in terms of, it's what they're having to do from middle of January until beginning of March. So, I don't necessarily, I think that would be maybe an unnecessary tweak.
I
Right.
agree with that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think it's the same. I think asking we're what we're really fighting for here is asking the UAL to extend the calendar maybe 5 to 7 days. Yeah, one game a week during the playoffs. I just unfortunately I just don't ever see happening. Not going to be
Yeah.
realistic because as we stand right now, we are in the busiest athletic period wise. We're in the busiest time of the year, right? With the amount of
Hmm.
sports that are going on right now. So it's just chaos. It's hectic. And I know, unfortunately, from their perspective, the UIL administration perspective, that's a lot of ground that they got to cover in terms of championships as well, right? So I get it. I get it from that. The old administrator in me gets it. Can Is there something still on the table that can be done that Coach Dickinson mentioned, at least in terms of the state tournament? Yeah, I think so. And I think, and as long as we keep voicing that, and coaches, when you go,
Yeah.
most people go to the TASCO convention, and rightfully so. We need you there, but more soccer coaches need to be going to coaching school, the THSEA convention, and and bang the drum for that exact issue, right? Talk with
And
more
I,
big picture people that are not necessarily soccer people. They need to hear that from you all.
and I really think it could be done if you had at the state tournament, if you had a boys' day and a girls' day. So then it was set up for everybody to have a day off. You might need two sites for the semifinals, so you might need to play in Round Rock and Georgetown for the semifinals, and then you take your day off, and then all the finals are up at Georgetown. But it could be done.
Yeah. And the second site thing is precisely what I know the UIL wants to avoid, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But great stuff, Coach Duhan. Thank you again. Going to go ahead
Yep.
and wrap up with Coach Dickinson. Appreciate you again, Coach. All right, we're back with Coach Dickinson. Coach, sorry, didn't want to
No,
open
you're
Pandora's
good, man.
box there, but hey, great stuff. Really, really, really love that. That's what we're about. So stoppage time, Coach. Any other thing as it relates to the game? Anything on your mind? Shout outs, thank yous, your community, your family, anything? The floor is yours.
I was talking about one more thing I think they would introduce. I think this would benefit not just soccer in general. I think they need UIL wise. I think it'd be a really good idea just to give district champion first round home field. I think that'd be a nice tweak. Right now, especially with the split, like you're talking about in our specific situation, you know, we potentially could be playing a district champion as a district champion. So at that point, what benefit do you have of being a one seed? Now that's obviously our particular situation, but the reality is, we could be a district champion one seed playing a two seed, and your third seed in your district plays a four seed. So I think that would be something that actually adds something extra benefit to winning that district championship on top of just getting the gold ball to begin with. I think that's something that obviously with it being the first round, that's obviously the most busy in terms of trying to schedule where you're going to be and all the things. I think that would alleviate all that pressure, and then after that, half the teams are out anyway, so it makes it a little bit easier at that point. So I think that's something that would be a common sense addition. I think that'd be an easy thing to do, and I think would be a positive influence on the game
Yeah.
uh, in terms of something I think might be helpful to change in the future. So um, in terms of shout outs, I'll echo what Coach Duhan had said. It's hard to do this job whenever you're gone the amount of time and without a spouse that helps take care of the household for you and kids while you're gone. My wife Amy, she's awesome. She takes care of our little one, and uh, all the hours I'm up here or gone to games or whatever it may be. It's hard to do this job with the time sacrifice you got to give up. We love it. That's why we do it. But, um, she's great. And, couldn't do it without her. And ultimately, I think you got to give credit to your kids too. Like this is why you do it to see them be successful and to grow as players and as a group. So um, sometimes I'm not the easiest to work with on a day in and day out basis. I'm pretty
Aren't we all?
strict to what my standards are and what I demand of my kids, and the level of expectations and excellence I want from them every day. I realize that, and I tell them that all the time. It's why I think we've been as successful as we have been recently. But it's not something easy. It's something you got to commit to, and you've got to you know, be willing to push yourself sometimes even when you're not willing to do it. I give my kids a lot of credit to be able to handle that type of environment and,
Mhm.
and thrive in it.
Absolutely. He is Coach Matt Dickinson, the head women's soccer coach of the 6A district champion Prosper Eagles. Coach, really happy for you. Really proud of you, and I'd be a little bit more proud of you if I could, if you still had that 50/50 podcast scarf
I got
hanging
you.
back there. I don't know if I. Oh, there you go.
There
There you
you
go. Although you do have us at the bottom, so I guess we're in the relegation zone,
go.
unfortunately.
Yeah,
But it's all right. I'll look past that. I'll get over it. So really appreciate you, Coach. Thank you again. Thank you for all your time. Thank you for joining us. Your accessibility. Love what you're doing up there, and absolutely wish you the. I know, I know you're going to go up against a behemoth in the first round, but wishing you the absolute best, and look forward to seeing what you guys can do in the playoffs.
appreciate it, guys.
All right. Take care.
Yeah, Coach.
That is Coach Matt Dickinson of the Prosper Eagles. Great stuff, man. Both guests, really
Mhm.
good stuff. That's kind of the first time we've had both on at the same time like that. Pretty cool. So, thoughts on what Coach Dickinson had to share, or when Coach Duhan jumped on as well?
It's a just great insight of what a lot of the decision making, especially was for all the coaches combined. How the postseason should be. Not everything's going to work the way you want. Some prefer maybe in having a regional tournament. Some prefer the way the system is right now. So, but I think the key is, like I said, it's getting the attention that it deserves, and it's only going to get better and better from here on out. So, it's not, like I said, it's not perfect, but I think eventually the UIL probably will finally kind of get it right to maybe give that more of that experience for the players and for the coaches staff as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No doubt, no doubt. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I mean that's what we're working towards. But again, that's why we continue. Why I continue to share is like when you go coaches, when you have those regional meetings at Tasco with your regional directors or with your regional coaching staff, talk about that, share that, right? Share that insight. It's not well, I'm just whining, complaining, no one's going to listen. There's strength in numbers, and if that message is consistent enough at that level internally, let alone at coaching school or at THSEA, um, those type of things matter. And I think sometimes I don't know if it I don't know if it gets lost or just people downplay. They think no one's going to listen to me, but they matter. They matter way more, I think, than people think. So, when will y'all make a podcast for predictions for playoffs? That is, we're going to get to that a little bit later. That's definitely coming. So don't go anywhere. Again, we are live. Some technical issues on Twitter's end. Not sure what's going on there. So that's definitely affecting our viewership. But we are live on YouTube. So go on there, the 50_50 podcast. Go on there and like, rate, subscribe, sign up for the live bell. If you hit that bell, live notifications, you would already be aware that we're getting on this. But I did have something to share, some breaking info here, breaking news info. 6A girls D2. It is going to be so. San Antonio Clark, or Northside Clark and Northside O'Connor, will be here in San Antonio. Well, in San Antonio, not here where I am, but in San Antonio, Comalander Stadium, Friday, March 20th, 7 p.m. So, some good insight there. Special thanks to our sources for revealing that. So thank you for that.
Little odd that two NISD schools playing at a NEISD stadium.
Right. Yeah.
I guess Ferris or the Gus wasn't available.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, it is interesting, right? Having you got two Northside, including a one seed, two Northside schools playing at NEISD site. But do we know everything that transpires behind? And rightfully so, right? I've been on the phone all day from about 9:30 to about 3:30. I was on the phone nonstop for that very reason, either phone calls or texting, right? So I get it. It's just there's always factors, logistical factors, negotiation factors that come into play. But yes, is it kind of interesting, kind of odd that you have two North Side schools playing at an NEISD site? Yeah, sure. But that said, I'm happy to see that they're getting a prime time spot on
mhm.
Friday. So that is going to be a great match. Again, that's Northside Clark, San Antonio Clark, whichever you want to call them, versus Northside Helotes, San Antonio O'Connor. You insert whichever name you want to call them. But 7 p.m. Friday, March 20th, 7 p.m. at Comalander Stadium. Great match. All right, we are going to transition over to it is RPI time, Coach. Are you ready?
Mhm.
All right, let's do this. RPI time here, and let me rearrange stuff here. So this marks our latest latest girls RPI as of today's date, March 11th, 2026. And we're going to break these down in increments of 5, with our first 5 in Frisco, Wakeland, number 2, South Lake Carroll, number 3, Smithson Valley, number 4, Lucas Lovejoy, and number 5, making a big jump in Kingwood, Humble Kingwood. Coach, take it away.
Yeah, so going to, I guess, creating the list, like I said, I know there's some games still pending, Friday. So, like I said, it's kind of what it's, kind of maneuver around, try to get this. It's still a tough one. The girls list is always tough because if I had a top 30, there'd be more teams. There's some that are like, it's like I'm gonna have to flip that coin and so forth. But like I said, I think some of the teams that are not on there, like I said, they're also deserving as well. But as far as my top 5, it's kind of the usual suspects, minus maybe Kingwood, who's kind of made that jump. Like I said, you have Wakeland, you have Salt Lake Carroll, Spencer Valley's been, like I said, another great season for them, and then Lucas Lovejoy. So, and then Kingwood, like I said, they're making the runs as a team, really to kind of keep an eye on. They're in the Houston area.
Yeah, great top 5. No real changes there, and our great friend Mo Football out of St. Louis. What's going on, Big Mo? How are you, buddy? Great to see you in here and following along, listening along. Yeah, I mean, nothing too crazy here. I mean, we've talked about El Cucuy at number 1, South Lake Carroll, who I don't know if there's any team with 20 plus wins more kind of quiet, I guess, right? Because it just going about their business. Smithson Valley, again, I talked to Coach Atkins earlier today. I told him, it's like, hey, man, don't make me look bad, right? I'm banging the drum hard for your squad, right? And in what I feel personally is quite possibly his most complete squad he's ever had in his time at Smithson Valley. And Lucas Lovejoy, a very, very, very good team that I feel more people should be talking about. And then, of course, Kingwood making that big jump. So happy to see them there. And then our next 5 in Salina at number 6, Forney at number 7, Salado at number 8, Life Waxahachie at 9, and then Harlingen Cardinals, Lady Cards at number 10. Coach.
Yeah, so another next 5, like I said, another great set of teams here. Salina, like I mentioned, going for number 5. The team really, I think you really kind of look out for is that Forney team, and they had a really great season last year. I think they may surprise. I want to be surprised that they get to Birkenbach. I think they have the talent enough to maybe to surprise some teams, late deep in the playoffs. Salado, like I said, I got the pleasure to see them a few weeks ago. Um, they're just a high octane offense, and they're just very relentless. And I know last year they kind of fell short. Is this the year they finally kind of get over the hump? A team that kind of also could get in their ways, like Waxahachie too. Like I said, they've been kind of playing the bridesmaid to Salina. Is this the year for them? And then the surprise, like I said, down in the valley is Harlingen. Harlingen's still undefeated, great season. They could be a team that going to the playoffs, especially the Austin San Antonio areas, shouldn't take lightly. I think they have the talent enough to maybe even get into that regional final. So another great group here for the next 5.
Yeah, great. A great Harlingen squad having a historic season. Happy to see that for them. Salina just quietly going about their business. 19-1-1, new coach. Doesn't matter. Their last hurrah in 4A, trying to make it their 5th state title in a row. The squad that I'm big on, that I love to watch play in Forney, coming in at number 7, 23-1. The Blitzkrieg, I don't know, man. You're not selling me quite on if you're as high on the Blitzkrieg as last year, but yet here they
Yeah.
are in the top 10, 23-1. Uh, so pretty fascinating stuff. And then our third foray in our top 10, Life Waxahachie, who you asked the perfect question: is this the year, right? So yeah, we transition to our final 5 in our top 15 here. In Vandergrift coming in at number 11, McAllen Memorial making a big jump coming up in 12, Garland Saxe coming in at 13, Prosper Walnut Grove at 14, and Cedar Park, the defending 5A D2 state champions, coming in at 15. Coach.
Yeah, so Vandergrift, like I said, another district title for them. It's definitely a team to keep an eye on. Um, can they do what the boys did last year? Get to the final, win one. McAllen Memorial, they got a tough one coming up. I think tomorrow night they have McAllen High, so we'll see if they can finish 21-0. I know they've kind of wrapped it.
Big rivalry
Yeah,
match.
big rivalry match. So yeah, all gloves are going to be off on that one. I know McAllen got the best of. I know McAllen Memorial got the best of them in the first game, so should be a dandy on the second one. Saski, what you can say about them? They're just a very consistent team year in year out. And then you have Prospero Walnut Grove. I know the boys kind of get a lot of the attention, but the girls are they're holding their own. And then Cedar Park, a little rough start, but they've finally kind of flexed their muscle and they're going through their district and they have maybe I think they have an opportunity that could be repeat again. So like I said, they got the tools to do it.
Yeah, yeah. I think one of the hottest teams in the state right now is coming in at number 11 in Vandergrift. So that is a
Mhm.
very well coached, very dangerous squad. Just had a big win last night over around Rock Westwood. And then, yeah, McAllen, we talked about McAllen Memorial already, as well as Saxey. Walnut Grove, I feel like people just kind of, they are the real deal. People forgot about them just because, I mean, their only two faults are to a very talented Lucas Lovejoy squad that's sitting in our top five. So I think that should tell you everything. And then yeah, Cedar Park. You know, Coach Poole's gonna have them ready. You know, they came up on the short end last night in a big district rivalry match versus Liberty Hill. So, but you know how it is. It's not making an excuse for anybody, but it's always this time of the year when certain things have been wrapped up already. It's always a mixed bag in terms of what results you might get. So it can be a tricky time of year, no doubt. And now we move on to our next five in, Coach. So our last five out of what is our 20 for our girls RPI. And we have Coppell comes in at number one, Wimberley at number two, Jacksonville at number three, Marcus at number four, and Katie Jordan at number five. Coach.
Yeah, so we say the Cowgirls can compel. Like I said, they got a big game coming up with Marcus, so a lot at stake on that, especially the district title. Then you got Wimberley. Still have a lot at stake. You know, they have to win tomorrow against, I believe, Long Creek. So, and um, there's a possibility. Like I said, if Canyon Lake beats Davenport, they may have to play a seeding game. Like I said, they'll be tied for the district title, and that's gonna determine who plays that Legacy Ranch team from Liberty Hill, which that could be a doozy of a matchup, especially in the first round. Jacksonville is one of those teams out in East Texas that don't get a lot of attention, but they're starting to make some noise. I think they kind of did a little bit of it last year, and just be very careful with them. Do not take them lightly. Uh, Marcus, what do you say? Marcus is Marcus. You know, year in year out, always one of the contenders here. And then Katie and Jordan, like I said, now they've kind of fully taken control of that district. And is this a year for them? Yeah, I know, you know, Seven Lakes and Tompkins kind of gets the attention. Is this year for the Katie Jordan? Like say if they make that run and represent Region 3.
Yeah. 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 Sneaking in here. Great stuff. And rightfully so. They belong here. And then, yeah, we talked about Marcus earlier. And yeah, the Wimberley, I mean, that's some drama that's building, right? We talk about Wimberley, with Davenport, Canyon Lake, Wimberley and Canyon Lake in particular. And yeah, Coppell, I think these are definitely some squads that are going to do some damage, make some noise in the state playoffs for sure. But that does it for our girls side. We move on to our boys RPI here. So again, we're going to look at our first top 15 here, starting with our first five in Prosper Walnut Grove at one, who's been sitting. Can they go wire to wire in the RPI as the number one? Right, they've been sitting there at the number one all season so far. Number two, Katy Seven Lakes. Number three, Salado, state champions. Dallas Jesuit coming in at number four, and then Bridgeland squad. I'm very big on these Bridgeland boys coming in at number five. Coach.
Yeah, what are you gonna say about Prosper Walnut Grove? I mean, they're the favorite. You know, is there a team out there that can stop them? You know, last year they're young. This year they're experienced. They know what it takes to win. You know, is like I said, who's going to get in their way and knock them off? You know, and right now the way they're playing, it doesn't look like anybody can. But like I said, crazy things can happen in the playoffs. We'll see. K Seven Lakes, you know, they're holding on their own. Like I said, I think they want to bounce back. You know, kind of disappointed from last season, and I think they want to get back to reclaim that 6A title. And then Salado, I think they're proving last year was not a fluke, especially with the circumstances of that state semifinal game. They're taking care of business. Like I said, I got to see them play a few weeks ago as well. Just like how the girls, just like the girls, the boys are just as talented too. I think they're very. I think they understand the role of them being the state champion, the target they have, and they're living up to those expectations right now. And then Dallas Jesuit, I think a very underrated team, but I think they're gonna. This is a team that maybe can do some damage in the playoffs. And then number 5, Bridgeland. I know you've been high on them. Um, is this their year to make it kind of make a challenge and make a deep run for Region 3 as well?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, not much to share, not nothing new to share, right? In terms of Walnut Grove, Katy Seven Lakes. I mean, these are just consistent squads. It's been largely a consistent top 10, right? Maybe some rearranging here and there, but nothing too crazy. Yeah, Dallas Jesuit, another school. Not a lot of people are talking about, but here they are marching along. And then, like I said, I'm continuing to bang the drum for Bridgeland as well at number 5. Keep your eyes out for these squads as they are going to definitely make some noise in the second season. All right, we move on to our next 10 here. So coming in at number 6, Frisco Wakeland, number 7, San Antonio Southwest, number 8, Kilgore, number 9, Austin Westlake coming in, breaking through into the top 10, and then Waco La Vega at 10. Coach.
So at number 6, El Cucuy. Like I said, another great season for them. Um, I feel sorry for who they played in the first round because they've been rolling, and I think they got a lot to want to prove us. A little disappointed from last season. I think they want to kind of get back into that title hunt again. And then Southwest, I know that, like I said, the incredible run they had last year, little, some close games early on, but I think they've really hit their stride. I think they're starting to peak at the right time, and I think they're also starting to get healthy. I think they have a really good chance of getting out of Region 4. They'll be in the D1 bracket. Kilgore, like I said, I know for down in East Texas, Palestine kind of gets a lot of the attention, but I think this may be Kilgore's year to really kind of maybe make an appearance here there at Birkelbach. Austin Westlake's been turning it up this year. I think last year's disappointment. This year they're winning the district title. They're going to be a very dangerous team going to the playoffs. And then number 10, Waco La Vega. That's another team that kind of keep an eye on too that could throw a mucking rich in bracketology.
Yeah, yeah. This interesting. It's outside of. I guess you can make the argument outside of Wakeland. This next 5, right, 6 through 10 here. This is a group with loaded in potential, but then still all kinds of questions in terms of can they put it together? How far will they go? Can they go? They're definitely dangerous enough to go on a run, but can they put things together? Can certain things break their way? Because that's what we always talk about, right? In the postseason, it's not enough to just be talented. It's not enough to just have depth. It's like somewhere along the way, certain things in a match or a draw that you get in the bracket next round, certain things just kind of have to break your way. And get a little bit of luck. When in doubt, I guess we call that luck, for lack of better words, because we don't know what else to call it. But I think that's how I see this next 5 here, or next 4 outside of Frisco Wakeland, because so much potential, but can they put things together, right? All right, we move on to our final 15 and our final 5, I should say, in our top 15. In 11, San Antonio Lee. I mean, you had them made. That's probably the biggest jump on the boys' side. So you're being a little generous there, but I like it. I like it. San Antonio Lee at 11, West Mesquite at 12, Round Rock Westwood coming in at 13, Grapevine at 14, and then Brookshire Royal, who have also steadily been just chipping away, coming in at 15. Coach.
What can you say about San Antonio Lee? They little rough start, but they basically dominated, 27-6A. They went undefeated. They only had that one tie against Reagan, but they took care of business in the second game, and they're on a roll. And I'm gonna say is this is a very young team, but I think they're ahead of schedule, and I think they're gonna put some teams on notice into the playoffs. I would not be surprised if they go 3 or 4 deep. Like I said, I think they have the talent. They have a great goalkeeper, coached well by Coach, like I said, by Coach Rogers. Like I said, Coach Rogers, he's been there, done that. He's got 500 plus wins. So, um, I think the kids are, I think, really kind of feed off. You know, I think they're peaking at the right time, and that's what you want. You want to peak around this time. West Mesquite also, I know they had a little setback, but I think they're still going to be a dangerous team going to the playoffs. Ramrod Westwood got a big win last night, and I was kind of waiting till towards midnight, and finally I got the result. They got a big win over Vandergrift, and then Grapevine boys. I know the girls kind of get the attention. I know they made that that long run last year. Nobody thought because of their record, but the boys they're making a statement this year to winning the district, and then Brookshire Royal. I think that's a team to really keep an eye on there in Region 3. You have teams like Lumberton and also Navasota, but I think this could be their year that they maybe
Yeah.
get out of the region and win the region.
Yeah, they're looking. I mean, they're looking dangerous. They're
Hmm.
definitely looking dangerous. So yeah, so a great group here. We talked about Lee Mesquite, Westwood. Yeah, they got a very big win last night, and then Grapevine and yeah, Brookshire Royal looking very dangerous. So that does it for our top 15. We now will look at our last five, our next five in right into our projected RPI. I think South Lake Carroll was sitting in this exact same spot last
Hmm.
RPI, right? If I'm not mistaken. Excuse me, 14 and 1, 14 0 and 8 at the number one spot for our next five in. Arlington Sam Houston at 2, Brownsville Porter at number 3, Magnolia West at 4, and a squad that we've both been pretty big on, right? It's kind of been one of the surprises in Houston Springwoods at 5. Coach.
Yeah, so Salt Lake Carroll, like I said, they did clinch the district title. It was surprising that 6 ties in district play. So I wouldn't let that record fool you. They have those 8 ties, very talented squad, like year in, year out. I think, a lot of teams, like I said, they play up to them. They're not, like I said, they know they're up for a game with them, but I think they're going to be dangerous in round Region 1. Arlington Sam Houston's a team to keep an eye on. This has been a great season for them, and you haven't seen an Arlington ISD team. It's been a while since we've seen one kind of go far. I know, like we have had like Arlington Martin in the past and so forth, but I think this could be a special year for Sam Houston. Uh, Brownsville Porter, keep an eye on them, especially 5A Division 2. Uh, I know Lopez was kind of the favorite for the district. I know they had some circumstances they had, for some gains, but hey, Porter has, been dominating that district so far this season. I think they could be the one team from the Valley that gets out of Region 4. Magnolia West in that tough district with Klein Kane and Klein Oak. They're in first place right now. I think they're about to clinch the district title with a win, and that's another team that kind of maybe there could be the Klein Kane of this coming year. So like I said, definitely a team to keep an eye on. And then Houston Springwoods. This is I was gonna say a Cinderella season, but a dream season for them. And
Right.
now it's kind of gonna get the nitty gritty. Can the great regular season? Can they go and show it in the playoffs? And we'll see. I think they have a good opportunity. Maybe let's see if they can go 2 or 3 deep.
Yeah. Yeah, and that does it for our boys RPI, the 20 of the best identified programs in the state of Texas on this date, March 11th, 2026. And we do have to add a caveat here, right, to both this girls and boys RPI, Coach, right, is like this is going off of the latest information that we have. Some scores have been reported late, some scores not reported, and then there are some big matches, and we'll reference that again a little later. But there are some big matches that are scheduled to take place Friday, right? Excuse me, of this week. And heaven forbid if we have to go into some play-in matches. I know there's one play-in match. What was it? I think today. I think if I'm not mistaken, I thought it was today in El Paso, right? So yeah. So it's going to be some interesting results that are still yet to be resolved. So that does it for our girls and boys RPI. Coach, it is some dark horse time. We're going to we haven't really talked much dark horses. We haven't had the chance to this season, but we're going to move on. We're going to start with our girls, 4A through 6A. We're going to look at our dark horse list. We're going to start with 4A. Coach, take it away.
So my 4A dark horse list for the girls, I have Madisonville, Fighter, Borger, Sulphur Springs, and Lake Dallas. Um, these are teams that could throw some, like I said, some monkey wrenches into the bracketology, um, and it's gonna be interesting how far they can go this season. I know we had, like I said, I don't know for 4A girls, the benefits has been Salina, year in year out, and then you have, like I said, you have Life Waxahachie. Last year we had Wimberley, Kenyon Randall, but I think these 5 teams have a legitimate shot to not only get out of the region, but get to Georgetown. But you got to give it to Madisonville. Like I said, great season for them. They've been you know taking care of business in their play. Vider's been the big surprise. Lumberton kind of gets a lot of the attention, especially the Lumberton girls. Like I said, they've been the last few years, but this could be their year, to make a run. The big surprise, I know Kevin is probably surprised this for the Yellow City is Borger.
Right.
You have Canyon Randall, defending state champ, and then you also have West Plains too. They have a great squad too, but no one expected the Borger, to win the district. And
Lady Bulldogs taking care of business.
could this be the year for them to get out of Region 1 and
Yeah.
get to the state semifinals? And then
Right.
Sulphur Springs, they've been kind of under the radar, and I would really keep an eye on them. I think they could surprise some teams in Region 2, and then another team like Dallas, just quietly 18-2. We'll see that they can, what they can do in the playoffs. I don't know. There'll be a difficult matchup for anyone going into the first
Yeah.
and second round game.
Yeah. Exciting group. It's a great group here. So I think I'm excited to see what Borger can do in the playoffs, right?
Mhm.
Is it a squad that is playing? They've been consistent all year up to this point. Is the moment too much for them, right, in terms of when they get into the second season? So excited to see what transpires there. So, all right, we move on to and we go to the 5A dark horse list. And again, we have to mention here, right? So when we're talking dark horses, we're not saying teams that are going to win state necessarily. We're not trying to put that on them, right? But this is more of teams that have potentials to go on deep runs, do some serious damage, maybe have been a little bit overlooked, a little bit under the radar, and could do some serious damage in the state playoffs. So, Coach.
Is that I have Amarillo. Like I said, is this their, like I said, is this their year to finally? I know when they get to that regional semifinal, kind of the Dallas area has kind of been the roadblock for them. Is this the year for them to finally kind of break through, kind of what Canyon Randall did last year? Birdville's another team that's kind of flown under the radar. Very talented squad. Uh, they're going to win the district title this year, and they could be a really matchup problem going in. Another team is Burlington Centennial. I know in the La Paz, I've been high on them. They've really established a really good program there, and they've really come around. And I think that don't let the record kind of fool you. I think they have enough talent to maybe have some surprises going into playoffs. Another team to keep an eye on is Pflugerville Hendrickson. I think this could be their year. I know last year, you'll have, I know you have Georgetown and, Austin Anderson. So for those type A and consolidated, but this is one, I think this could be the year for Hendricks, and this could be a special one for them. And then Friendswood, story program, they just kind of haven't, been talked about too much this year, but I think this could be something for them. It could be they could surprise some teams this year as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Amarillo seems, I know we talk about Kevin Gomez out of Yellow City Soccer. He's been big on this program for 2 years, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
um, can they pick up where they left off in terms of expectations last year in the playoffs? That's one thing to look at. Birdville, yeah, I really agree with, really like this Birdville squad. Curious to see, coach, their previous coach out at Abilene High. She's got them no stranger to success. She's got them well prepared for, I think, for a good deep playoff run. So excited to see what happens there. Pflugerville Hendrickson, they are now what, probably 7, 8 years removed, I think, from a state title.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So good to see that name, that program kind of in these discussions again. So yeah, I'm excited to see this group here. All right. And we will move on now. We'll highlight our final 5 here. 6A, our list of dark horses for 6A girls. Coach, take it away.
So I have Wiley East. Like I said, that district over there, year in, year out, it's always a tough one. They don't get much attention, but for Wiley East, when they go, I think they could really do some, like I said, some damage this year in the playoffs. And um, like I said, that you have the kind of some of the teams from, like I said, like with Wiley and so forth. But like I said, and sometimes they have some issue, fall in the first round, especially to District 10. But this year, I think they have a good chance. Ridge Point too. I know you've been high on them in the past. Like I said, this year they've kind of, they haven't really made too much noise, but I think, but they're always a team that you can't take lightly, and I think, as this year they finally kind of get back to Georgetown, and then I have Harlingen. Um, I'd be very worried about playing them. Yeah, I would not. I know they say, "Oh, it's a Valley team," especially the girls. It's like, nah, we won't. People won't take them seriously, but I think this is a squad that is very deep and talented, and I think they may end up surprising someone, especially in that third round game. So, like I said, we'll see what they can do this year. Another one that I'm kind of glad that they're back is Dripping Springs. They're kind of ever since those deep runs they've had the last years, and this year they got the. I think this is a squad that they can really go far. And then another team that can here in my backyard, San Antonio Clark. What can I say about them winning the District 27 6A? Um, they could have a really tough matchup in the second round. But I think that could be an instant classic. I think they may be on the collision course with Vandergrift, but that'll
Yeah.
be a great game, for a second round game.
Yeah. And then, if I'm not mistaken, I'm trying to remember, right? Dripping Springs looking at a first round matchup with Westwood, right?
Yeah,
So
that's gonna be a good one too.
yeah, I mean, wow. You talk about some unbelievable first round matchup, and I feel like, I don't know. I think at the end of the day, rightfully so. I get the argument of so many of these games being worthy of a regional semifinal, regional final
Mhm.
type contest. But at the end of the day, I think I'm all about, hey, can we get some great matchups right out of the gate? That's always a good thing. I think in the end we win, right? Texas high school soccer wins, right? So yeah, excited that we broke the news earlier about Clark playing O'Connor Friday, March 20th, 7 p.m. at Comalander Stadium in San Antonio. In case you missed that one. And then we got a little bit more kind of relatively breaking news. I think it was already out a little bit in some circles, but Warren, Northside Warren, San Antonio Warren playing Northeast ISD, San Antonio Johnson, scheduled for that's Thursday, March 19th, 7 p.m. at Gustafson Stadium in San Antonio. Again, that's Thursday, March 19th, 7 p.m., Gustafson Stadium, Warren and Johnson girls.
That was another team I was close to putting on them, the Warren, because I've seen them quite a few times. They're just relentless. They will not they make you work, and then they
And they're going
come
to be
out.
battle tested in that district, too, coming out of
Yeah,
that district.
they come after you. They are very deep. They're very athletic. If they lose the ball, they get it right back in 2-3 seconds. So they're gonna Johnson's gonna have some. They're gonna have to bring their A game for that one, but that's gonna be a fun one to watch. Because
Yeah,
on Thursday they're at the Gus.
yeah, no doubt. All right, that does it for our girls' dark horse list. We're going to transition now over to our boys' dark horse list, starting with 4A. Coach, take it away.
So I have Panther Creek as a dark horse district title this year. I know the Solano boys have kind of been dominating that district, but this year it's like I said, they've taken that role, and this is their year to finally kind of get win their region. And then I have Brookshire Royal. Like I said, it's an awesome season for them. Quality wins over, like I said, over Navasota. Are they? Is this the year they finally get through? Through Region 3. Another team that's kind of flown on the radar is Athens. Just a great season. Like I mentioned, Palestine gets a lot of the attention out there, but I think Athens could be one of those teams that could surprise someone, especially like in that second, third round game. Another team in the Coastal Bend area, Corpus Christi London. Uh, they've built a really solid program down there, and I know they've kind of fallen short, but I know a few years ago they had that. They went toe to toe with Coach Strong's team at Bernie, so that was a really good game when they played. So I think this could be one year that this could be the year they finally kind of get it through. And then a team I know you're familiar with out west is El Paso Bowie. I know you know Sanelli gets like I said, a lot of the attention, but
Mm-hmm.
Bowie's got talent too, and I think the record right there speaks for itself. And maybe we could end up having 2 representatives, from that district,
Yeah.
get to catch a Georgetown.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a great. I feel like in 4A, you're going to see probably at least 2, maybe even 3 of these squads kind of do some serious damage in the postseason. Yeah, Panther Creek. Feel like we've been talking about them off and on for a couple of years now. Brookshire Royal. Really excited to see what they're doing. Excited to see how their regular season, district season success, how that translates in the postseason. And then Bowie, we talk about out in El Paso. Is this the year that they say Arriba la Bowie? We're right area, my old neck of the woods, out in the West Texas town of El Paso. So yeah, very lots of talent, a very well coached Bowie squad. So happy for them as well. District champions out of I think 1 4A, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, that does it for our 4A. We move on and we now look at 5A and we continue with another El Paso squad. Coach, take it away.
Yeah, and then I just saw the posting in there for El Paso Americas. They won the district title. Uh, I got to see them, I think, a couple years ago when they played here at the Alamo Heights
I think
tournament.
they took that away. They wanted it over Bel Air, didn't they?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
So I did get to see them a couple years ago, and there was a talented squad, and I think they've really built something there. That's a team that really kind of really keep an eye on. Is it I know Bel Air gets a lot of the attention, but is this America's year to go deep? Another team that maybe here on the D1 route in Region 4 for 5A is Leander Rouse. Uh, could be an interesting matchup in round 2 of the possibly. I believe the brackets are correct. Maybe with Southwest, that'd be a really good matchup if we do see it in either round 2 or maybe in the regional final. Um, Midlothian Heritage, I know they very dominant in 4A. I know they went up to 5A a few years ago. Kind of, not struggled, but they're like I said, competitive. But this year they won the district title. Could this be, for them, are they ready to make that deep run in the 5A, in the 5A division? And then Houston Springwoods, like I mentioned, like I said, it's a great year for them. Can they, turn it up a notch and show it in the playoffs? And then another team that kind of, like I said, keep an eye on that's been really dominating. It was late. They're playing great right now. Is Kamal Piper. I know last year they ran into a really good, like I said, with Southwest, and they had a lead with them, and then, like I said, kind of the momentum changed a bit. If Piper's in the Division 2 route, they're gonna cause some problems, and I want to be surprised. I could see a maybe Piper versus Lopez or Piper versus Brownsville Porter,
Mm-hmm.
which
Yeah.
which would be a great game to go see.
Piper very much under the radar. I think here they've what were we talking about? I think even when we had Coach Strong on, I think they've
Mm-hmm.
lost one district game in 3 years. I think or
Years, yeah.
something like that. So yeah, at least since they've been in competing as a varsity. Yeah, Springwoods. We talked about Springwoods earlier, and then yeah, El Paso Americas. Interesting squad to see how they went on a deep run last year in the postseason. A little bit of controversy there, but yeah, happy to see Rouse back in here as well. And then Heritage trying to maybe take that spotlight back from Midlothian, who won
Mm-hmm.
state a couple of years ago. So yeah, excited to see what transpires out of this group here. We move on to 6A, our final 5, and another plug here for Lee. Rafa's got to get him in here again.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, again, we have to mention, right, a dark horse isn't necessarily we're saying this team is winning state, but also going to has the potential for a deep run. Go ahead, coach.
Yeah, like I said a couple of weeks ago, I guess on an episode, I guess on the roundtable about Lee. Like I said, I think other people are have been saying the same thing I've been saying. This is a very dangerous team, and like I said, I got to see them play. This squad, for being a year ahead, has kind of had that it factor, and they do cause matchup problems and so forth. So it's I know that I think the first game they're playing, I believe, is against I forgot. I think they're playing Brennan. So Brennan's got a tall task in the first round. Then the Arlington Sam Houston. Arlington doesn't get much as far as attention as far as when it comes to soccer and so forth. But I think this is a squad that I think they could probably is going to surprise some teams this year. Magnolia West. I feel like they could be maybe this year's version of the Klein Kane. Nobody really kind of picked them to win their
Ooh, you're
district.
putting that on. You're putting that on them, huh?
Yeah, I'm putting it on them because they've been playing great, and that District 13 6A is just brutal, and you said you have Klein Oak, like I said, you have Klein Kane there, you have Klein. It's just like I said, you have to bring your A game in that district, and this year they've proven it. Now can they show it? This year in the playoffs. Another team that's kind of been, in the past, they've had some runs to state, but they've kind of fallen a little on the radar. And now I think maybe this could be their coming back party is for Fort Bend Clements. They're so far a great season for them. They're going to cause a lot of issues in Region 3. And then another team, like I said, I was kind of waiting till almost past midnight to get a result from these guys. Because Round Rock Westwood, I mean, great win over Vandergrift, and they're gonna cause some. They're gonna cause a lot of matchup problems, going into the playoffs, and it's gonna be they're gonna have, like I said, they're gonna have a tough one in the first round. But this is a team that really kind of keep an eye on now, and I wouldn't be surprised if they end up playing close to their backyard. They're up 35 in Georgetown.
Right. Well, and the interesting thing, so we look at this group here, we talk about Lee, San Antonio Lee. It's kind of my thought, my instinct on them is like, hey, if you're going to get them, maybe you probably want to get them now, because what gets lost in all of this and the success they've had is this is a young Lee squad,
Mhm.
right? Very young. Yeah, they got the experience in terms of in between the pipes and Caleb Gomez in goal, and that's going to go a long way, because when you have a game changer of a goalkeeper, you're going to always be in matches, right? But as a whole, top to bottom, yes, they have depth, but this is still a very young squad, right? And yeah, I think this group here, I mean, you're putting it on Magnolia West here in terms of calling your shot as the potential Klein Kane. So we'll see, right? Putting high hopes, high expectation there on Magnolia West, and then Westwood, right? Happy to or excited to see big win that they had yesterday. Can they translate that into success, into more momentum going into these maybe this first match, and then potentially a couple of rounds into the playoffs? So. Awesome. That does it for our dark horse list. Any reattacks on this, Coach, before we transition?
No, like I said, there was a couple other ones that, it was that could be potential, I guess I can say matchup problems, and they could surprise some teams. But you got to understand. Remember last year we had a lot of first time high schools in the state finals. This could be a opportunity for, I know Lee's already been in the final. I know Clemens has too, but I think out of the list there could be some that get back, get there for the first time as well. I think there's a possibility we could see that repeat of that this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. We got a lot more to cover. We got some more details coming up. We still have our by district spotlight where we're going to highlight talking about a couple of district matches that we're excited to discuss. Excited for that as well. But before we do, don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back shortly after this word from our sponsors. In the market for a new home, or maybe you'd just like to get more information? Then let us tell you about our new proud partner and title sponsor, Jeanette Spain at TexasVeteranRealtor.com, your go-to realtor for military and veteran families in Central Texas. With her cover and move I've got your 6 approach, you focus on the move while she handles the contracts, the deadlines, and even the details. Want a realtor who works like you and fights for you? Then you need to visit Jeanette Spain at TexasVeteranRealtor.com for your free no-pressure strategy session. Again, that's Jeanette Spain at TexasVeteranRealtor.com, as well as at 737-210-5812. And then there are our great friends at Gipper. Gipper is a way that schools, athletic departments, ADs, and coaches create world-class marketing content. Join over 4,000 coaches and ADs and use Gipper to create high-quality, visual branded graphics for your program. The best part, Anyone can do it in seconds on any device without needing any design experience whatsoever. If you do have significant experience in this process, then this is designed for you as well, as you are what they call the power user. Listeners of the 50/50 podcast can now receive 10% off any first-time Gipper purchase. Simply visit gipper.com/partner/5050 to learn more. Again, that's gipper.com/partner/5050 to learn more. All right, we are back. It is episode 8 of season 6 of Inside Texas High School Soccer. All right, Coach, it is about that time while I go ahead and bring up our latest segment here, our fire first round matchups, or our by district spotlight, as we want to call it. And I know you had some caveats here, or some additional info on some of these. Go ahead, share that with us, Coach, while I bring this up.
Yeah, like I said, right now it's kind of still a little difficult. Some of the matchups, I know some are starting to kind of come on, especially on Twitter or X or Twix that we call. So it was a little tough to figure out who's already kind of confirmed who they're gonna play on so. But I think these are the two. Like I said, for the girls' side, I think these were kind of already kind of etched in stone, especially the Jeffrey Springs and Westwood game. Uh, that's going to be an instant classic there. That's, to me, is like it's regional regional final caliber s game, and it's going to be a shame whoever loses this game, but whoever wins this one could be one that goes deep in the playoffs. And then the second game is very interesting because tomorrow's game is going to be a big factor for Canyon Lake. Canyon Lake's hosting Davenport. If they beat Davenport tomorrow, they will tie Wimberley for the district, for District 26 4A, and both are going to be representing the D2 route. So we're not sure if they're going to do the good old the little Southwest Texas coin flip, or they're going to do the they're at the gas station. They'll probably do they're at the at the bookies there in New Braunfels, but or they're going to do a seeding game.
So here's the
But
question, though. So does Canyon Lake have to beat them, or does a draw
well,
do it, or same result, or how,
so
or
so,
do they have to win?
so if Canyon Lake draws or loses, Wimberley will get the 1 seed for D2. So that means Canyon Lake will play Legacy Ranch, who is the district champ for 25
So
4A.
Canyon Lake has to win.
They have to win,
Right,
yes.
right.
So there's no ifs, ands, or buts. Now, Wimberley does have a little. They do have Long Creek, and Long Creek, I think they're 4th. Um,
Hmm.
I don't know how much is at stake. I'm sure Wimberley's like, hey, well, we're not going to tie or lose. They don't want to tie or lose, so I'm sure they're going to try to go out and take care of business. But like I said, Canyon Lake, like I said, it's a rivalry game between Davenport and
Yeah.
Canyon Lake. So
Yeah, no doubt.
Davenport's not going to roll over, even though they've had some struggles this year. I still think they could be a favorite there in D1 in the D1 bracket for Region 4.
Yeah.
But like I said, if Canyon Lake does win tomorrow, that causes a scenario that they're going to do the coin flip or they're going to play the seeding game. But the
Hmm.
loser of that game, or whoever loses, or whoever gets the 2 seed, is going to end up playing Legacy Ranch, and that's going to be a dynamite game in the first round.
Yeah, yeah. Legacy, we talk about Liberty Hill Legacy Ranch. They've been having a great season. And Dripping Springs, of course, got a typo there, so mind the typo. Appreciate that. But yeah, it's going to be interesting what comes out of that Canyon Lake Davenport match on Friday, right? Is it Friday?
Yeah, tomorrow. Yeah, Friday. Yes, yeah, Friday.
Tomorrow or Friday?
No, Friday. Sorry about
Friday,
that. Yeah, it'll be
Friday. Yeah,
Friday.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was asking. I'm forgetting. Spring break week, so you forget what day it is. So, okay, we move on and we got a couple of more matches to highlight at the by district round right now. I mean, there's a ton, guys, obviously. So, but we'll have some more information on that at the tail end of this, where we might highlight some more, but we'll talk about that later. On the boys' side, we look at these two. Coach, take it away.
Yeah, I can't really confirm too much with it, but they look like because I was going over Harry's brackets yesterday. Um, but this is what it kind of looks like now. Things can change after Friday. We'll get a clear picture. But for now, like I said, we have a Bridgeland versus Klein Kane. You have the defending state champ versus a team that's hungry, that's looking to make a statement. And like I said, that's going to be, like I said, an instant classic there. And then two perennials there in the Dallas area, Capel versus Allen. I mean, they're both storied programs, and it's a shame that if this is the matchup, it's a shame that one has to you know lose and stuff, and see who continues on and stuff. But like I said, Allen, like I said, this year they've kind of, like I said, not saying step back, just like I said, some little adversity there. But I think them and like I said, the Capel boys are so a dangerous team. So whoever comes out of this, whoever's in that second round games, they got their hands full.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that is, at the end of the day, that's kind of the caveat, right? Is we're going off of the information we have right now. Are some of these matchups potentially going to be subject to change? Absolutely. And I guess we are going to try to get in one more episode, hopefully, possibly, not entirely sure, before the actual start of the playoffs, but not 100% certain. But that does it for our by district spotlight, at least for now. But yeah, so great job on these, Coach. And we got one more thing to share, one more big piece that we want to share that we were being asked about earlier. All right, and so, Coach, you want to tell us a little bit about this?
So yeah, so the annual Texas High School Soccer Bracketology, back at it again. I don't think it'll be like a 6-7 hour epic episodes like we did like the first two. So we are gonna break it down by classification. We're still kind of working the details. Hopefully, we'll be announcing those soon. It just kind of have to just kind of list some little logistics. I'm hopeful maybe, like I said, possibly Saturday or not for
Hmm.
sure Sunday, Monday, maybe into Tuesday. Just make sure you follow both our pages, Roundtable and 50 Podcast. They're on, like I said, on Instagram, X, and then we're also on Facebook as well. Just make sure you just follow us. So we'll come out with more details on it, uh, what time, and then who's gonna go first. We're, like I said, we're still trying to figure out who's gonna go first and all that. But it's always fun, like I said, as far as our picks. And I know Harry does a great job setting up all the brackets. Like I said, I just spoke to him. He actually just got back from Austin because his daughter went to go visit. I think her daughter's going to Portland State, so she just came back from her college visit. So,
Nice.
so he's working on that, and I think tomorrow we'll be on the roundtable. So we'll probably do like also, like I said, we'll probably discuss some of it a little bit more, and then like I said, just looking forward with you, Steve, and Harry, as far as with our picks. And should be interesting. I know last year I won't be wearing any high school T-shirts
Yeah,
and
man. Yeah,
Dixon teams.
little
So
wardrobe malfunction last year.
maybe I'll wear one of those 1A or 2A schools that don't have a program yet. So maybe
Yeah,
I'll wear one of those or so forth.
yeah,
Or well, since I'll be in Laredo, maybe I'll wear a Laredo Heat
yeah.
jersey or
If
something.
you have no idea what we're talking about, you owe it to yourself to go back and watch last year's 6A bracketology, where Rafa had a definite wardrobe malfunction, right? So yeah, we'll leave it at that. We've talked about it so many times, so we'll see what it entails this year. But yeah, excited for this year's version of bracketology. Again, uh, still things being finalized, but when we talk about coming soon, we mean coming soon, like within the next few days, guys. So more details to come on that. But yeah, led by Mr. Harold Austin, Coach or Harry Austin himself, who does so much work in terms
Hmm.
of the bracket prep for that. And I know inevitably someone wants to chime in, hey, we're not playing there, hey, we're over here. It's like and we got to go off of the information that we have. And sometimes you're talking about for every school, every part of the bracket, boys, girls, sometimes we have to go to 4 or 5 different places to try to get information, right? So
Yeah, like today.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
With District 19 4A. So I had to reach out to some coaches. Shout out to the head coach from Freeman, send me the info on that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
but yeah, like I said, yeah, you haven't put in your information, put in the max price. Don't wait till the last minute.
yeah.
I think the biggest thing is like I know there's some teams still playing district
Correct.
games
Yeah, rightfully
till
so. We get
Tuesday,
that.
so it's gonna be a little tough. So that's why we're still kind of waiting to see what type of schedule we're gonna do, who's gonna look at which classification one may have to kind
Hmm.
of kind of wiggle around it. But like I said, but it's
Yeah.
gonna be a great one.
Well, theoretically, after Friday, right, we know that the only thing that should, barring weather, is the only thing that should still be floating out there would be any potential play-in matches, right? Whether it's a one seed, a district champion, a four seed, what have you, whatever, what have you. That's really the only thing that should be floating out there, as because again, next Tuesday, big date, right? Next Tuesday, district certification. That is again the date where all districts have to report their official four representatives for the 2026 UIL Texas High School Soccer State Playoffs. So it's got to be done by then. We know that. So hopefully, we still don't have teams going into Tuesday playing. Does it present a tricky scenario for the brackets and for bracketology? Sure, but we've been there. You know, kudos to to Harry, is like we've been there. We see it every year, right? Obviously, there seems to be a lot more questions and information that still needs to be plugged in, particularly at the 4A level. So our format might be a little different this year, but yeah, please be on the lookout. We'll be sharing stuff very soon in terms of the logistics of where and when we will be having this, and excited to be on this joint venture once again with the San Antonio Soccer Roundtable. And I guess what this is got to be, I think, our sixth, right? Sixth one,
6-1.
I think. Yeah. So yeah, excited for that. But that is going to do it for this episode, Coach. It's been great stuff. Really want to thank our guests in Coach Duhan of Heath, as well as Coach Dickinson of Prosper. They were awesome. They did great. Really love having them on. Coach Dickinson's starting to challenge for the gold jacket, man. I think this is what his probably, I think, what, fourth time on here, maybe. But he's always a great interview. Always gives us great content. I gotta josh him a little bit about asking the tough questions, but yeah, I think, and the same with Coach Duhan. I think he thought he was awesome. Great, gave some great info. Both district champions. Congratulations to them. Particularly congratulations, Coach Duhan, winning their first district title at the 6A level. So happy for him. Thoughts on them, Coach? Anything before we transition over to stoppage time?
Just great, two great programs. That year in, year out, that we talk about a lot. Player uh perennial, not only, going deep, but also, challenging for state titles and so forth. So
Right.
it's always, like I said, a pleasure to talk to them, hearing their insight about their programs, about their players, and and then also the difficulties, being an educator, juggling a family and so forth. The time to, away from that, I've been through that too. So it's, like I said, it's a tough job. Sometimes it's a thankless job too, but the thing, I think the payoff is like just getting work with some great students and so forth, and just kind of mentoring them, not only on the field but also off the field too. So it's just great role models, and that's what you want to strive for when you get into
Yeah.
this profession and so forth. So so those are some, especially two coaches you should really look up to.
Right. Right. Yeah, well said. All right. It is that time, Coach. Stoppage time, our final shout outs, thank yous, whatever's on our mind as it relates to the game. Obviously, we're getting ready to enter the critical period, right? The real March Madness, as we call it, here with the start of the state playoffs here soon. But your stoppage time thoughts, Coach, take it away.
Yeah, just looking forward to see kind of like the surprises, kind of like last year, and just the little, not saying the arguments and stuff, just the kind of the rationalizing about our picks and so forth. I know last year I got grief with my when I picked with Grapevine with the Grapevine girls last year, but hey, they they surprised a lot of people. So it's always fun, and also you get to see also some of the matchups, and a lot of them are going to be very interesting matchups. And um, like I mentioned, we had a lot of first timers last year get to state. Is there going to be a repeat again this year, or are we going to have the kind of like the quote unquote the usual suspects get back to Birkelbach? I know there's one that's looking for a ring for the thumb, and there's some that are looking to repeat. So and there's some that want to take that next step, and get that star on their above their crest, to make that statement, to say, hey, like I say, hey, we finally arrived. So it's a great time. Like I said, it's 6 years in the work, and it just gets better and better. And we're, like I said, I look forward to chatting with you and Steve and Harry as far as picking the picks coming up. So that's like so what I look forward to.
Yeah, well, hey, you guys will have the heavy lifting because I will have to remove myself from
For
a portion of the 6A girls,
Mhm.
obviously. So to protect the integrity of our picking, right? So it's always fun. Yeah, I agree. It's great. It would, what the I guess the unknown clown show that it started as to what it's evolved into now has been pretty cool, pretty fun to watch. So yeah, I love it. I know we get a lot of people that always ask us about it and talk about it. And so when we do have those shows, right, those bracketology shows, 4A, 5A, 6A, chime in, get in here, give us your comments, give us your take. If some information is not current, by all means, help us out here. But what I will say is this: as the playoff matchups, I should say, get locked in, right? You put them out there on the socials. Tag us. Make sure you tag the
Yeah.
podcast, tag the 50/50 podcast, so we can make sure that information is circulating through and actually being correct versus stuff that is sometimes being reported and being misreported at that. So yeah, we always appreciate you all with that, and definitely need your help. So thank you for that. You talked about what will happen as the tournament unfolds, and I think remember taking us back to last year, the first year with the D1 D2
Mhm.
format being unfolded, and we had. I'm drawing a blank here. I can't remember if it was 9 or 10. I want to say 9.
9.
9 state champions were first time champions, right? So I think that speaks to, and you're seeing it across the board in all sports, all the team sports that have adopted the D1 D2 model, right? You're seeing that where you're seeing schools have that chance to challenge, to contend. So I feel that's a decent trade-off for, I think it's a win-win, right? When we see some of these first round matchups that are like, oh my, these are like regional final worthy. But so I think that's a small, I guess, small
Price.
sacrifice, I guess, in the grand scheme of things. Because in the end, the teams that are going to be in your regional final, in your state semifinal at Birkelbach for a state final, I think they will inevitably find their way there, right? Kind of what it is meant to be will be. But yeah, I think excited for another year. So yeah, so new champs. How many new champs will we have in this second iteration of the D1 D2 split, D1 D2 format? Big thing I kind of want to get out there, right, to student bodies everywhere, fans, supporters, the parents, everybody is, get out there and support. Get out there and support your team, support your community, even if you don't know somebody necessarily. Don't wait for, hey, our team's going to go 4 or 5 rounds deep at least. I'll wait till then, or I'll wait till Georgetown. No, get out there, support, because in terms of our coverage of our game, right, we need to see big crowds. We need to see attendance numbers up. Coach Dickinson, Coach Duhan, we're talking about that earlier in terms of the state semifinal format, which I'm a big fan of as well, state semifinal and final. But there is something to be said about last year's format, right? We saw a record number of first day attendance record numbers broken, right, in one day, right, in day one, and I think it was the heavy 4A dominant day, right.
Mhm.
So there's something to be said about that, right. I think what was it? I think Wimberley showed up with half the town right at Georgetown, so which was just an awesome sight to see. I mean, you're seeing a 4A final here, and the place was packed, place was rocking. So yeah, so go out, support your program, support your school, support your communities, grab somebody, grab 2 or 3 people with you, a bunch of friends, and go out there and support your programs. Really think it's a big thing. Really think it's a great thing. So the more they see more people out there, the more buzz it generates, the bigger venues, and then again, like I said, the more we can have those conversations of bringing back that traditional state format as well. So, and then the only other thing, excuse me, the last thing I got in terms of my thoughts is, with the second season here upon us now, just about, be in the moment, right? So whether you're a freshman on varsity, an underclassman, an upperclassman, or of course a senior, be in the moment, cherish the moment, and whether you only get to play one game or you get to go on that special run, enjoy every moment. None of it is guaranteed, and if you go back and you make a deep run or even win state as a freshman or a sophomore, it's never guaranteed that you're coming back the next 2 years or the next 3 years, right? Just go ask underclassmen that have won state early in their careers, right? Never guaranteed, because that is just how competitive our sport is in this great state. So enjoy it and make the most of it. Share the memories. Tag us on your photos. Tag us on your great moments, even on the tough moments, right? Tag us, share, and then of course you can like, rate, subscribe on Twitter X at 50_50 pod, on Instagram at 50_50 podcast, as well as on YouTube at the 50_50 podcast, and our audio podcast as well. Wherever you have your preferred podcast platform, you can go on there, give us a rating, like, rate, subscribe as well. And the rating always helps keep us active. So great to hear from Coach Martinez, Donnie Martinez, out of the head coach of the O'Connor, the Lady Panthers. Love what you all do for the game. Thank you, Coach. Really appreciate you. Wishing you the absolute best of luck against Clark as well. So it's going to be a great postseason. I got a great feeling about this postseason. So. And then, of course, I have to, I got my own little group that I have to work with, that I'm excited to work with as well in this next season. So just a great group of young ladies, great program, everything, great administration, great parents, excited for, hopefully we can go on a little run of our own as well. So, but yeah, so anything else, Coach? Final thoughts? Anything else?
Well, you get to play someone familiar that I'm familiar with, so
yeah. Our first round matchup will be versus Del Rio, the Del Rio Queens, on Friday, March 20th, 6 p.m. Sorry, I don't even remember when my own game is. 6 p.m. 6 p.m. in out in Medina Valley. So excited for that one as well. So one game at a time. That's the big thing, right? Is the old Coach Jim Valvano, survive and advance, one game at a time, right? You start looking too far ahead, you get in trouble. So, and not only that, but it's also very disrespectful to your teammate, your opponent, I should say. Anything else, Coach? Thoughts?
No, just like I said, just a great way to close out the regular season. Now we're starting the second season. I'm sure we're going to see a lot of surprises like we always do. And,
Right.
But that's the fun part, and like I said, on any given night, anybody can be beaten, but like you mentioned about cherishing the moment, like whether you win, making the playoffs is tough, and that's the thing, because you got to remember you're one of the few teams that actually are getting to play in that extra game, and if you get to play in the following the next round, hey, so be it. Sometimes the stars align and it's your year, and we saw that with a lot of teams last year. And I'll give you like Austin Achieve last year. Nobody's really they were under the radar, and first charter school team to win a state title. So those are the stories that, like I said, we love to see, and and like I said, we're going to see a lot of that coming next week.
Yeah, and it further speaks to where we are now, right? Because some of these teams that won state last year or went on deep runs last year, they're fighting for their playoff lives a year later, So it's, when I say it's not guaranteed, right? And you just got to be consistent and chip away. And our athletes out there, have faith in your coaches, have faith in the message, right? And just keep chipping away, because, so we had him on tonight, right? Coach Dickinson, he's a perfect example, right? His Prosper squad. This was a squad going back to when he was an assistant there that a couple of times they were part of that upset bug first round upsets, right? And they just kept coming back, and then boom, they break through, right? And they win a state title. So you love to see that, but those are the stories, and that's what we're about here in terms of the podcast, right? Is telling those stories, the stories of the coaches, the stories with the players as well. And really, really fun, really excited, blessed to be able to cover our great sport in the great state of Texas. So to all of our listeners, all of our supporters, all of our coaches, our athletes everywhere, wishing you the absolute best as we transition into the playoffs. But most of all, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you so much. Really appreciate you guys. That is going to do it. Thank you again. So for Coach Rafa Castorena, as well as special thank you to everybody that chimed in tonight in our chat. Thank you so much, chat. And of course, for Coach Duhan, Coach Dickinson of the Heath Hawks, as well as the Prosper Eagles. Thanks so much. I am your host, Coach Hector Cano. And until the next time, keep downloading and keep listening. You've been listening to the 50/50 Podcast, powered by the 50/50 Podcast Network. Help us continue to grow by liking, rating, and subscribing on all major podcast platforms. And don't forget to follow us on X at 50_50 pod, on Instagram at 50_50 podcast, as well as on YouTube at the 50_50 podcast. Until the next time, keep downloading,